welcome to the Growth Hub. My name is Nissi and I'm so happy that you are joining me here. I didn't really feel like there was a space where we could gather, those of us who really geek out about change management, about the human journey, about the power of stories and transformation, can come and speak about those things in the context of change management. So I'm hoping this space will be as useful for you as it is for me. Today I want to talk to you a bit about my journey, just so that you can get to know me. I think it's really, really important, and I would love if you could share some of your journeys below wherever you are accessing this video. What got me into change management is my fascination with stories. So ever since I was really, really young, I've always loved books. I've always loved using my mind to go to different worlds, and I know it sounds really, really corny, but that's the truth. From about the age of 11, when I could go to the library by myself, I'd go there every week, take out the maximum amount of books, which I think was about 11 or 12, go home, read them, come back and do the same thing. I used to spend my weekends in W.H. Smith just reading the blurbs on books, and I was just really fascinated by how the stories impacted me and how they shaped my thinking and how I showed up in the world differently because of that. So then I went on to study a degree in English language and literature again, which I absolutely loved, but I didn't really know where I was going to go from there. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. That's the usual route that I know a lot of English literature and language grads take, and I just knew I didn't want to be that at that time. So I just started working, and I started working as an executive assistant at a boutique property development company, and my director in that space was amazing. He had created the business from the ground up by himself, and through working with him I started to see how actually the stories that people tell in business are incredibly powerful. It's the difference between getting a sale and not getting a sale. It's the difference between forming community and trust and not forming community and trust. And so I started to put the two together, like, okay, so this story thing that I'm into is not just make believe. It's not something that I just do because I enjoy it. I can use my passion and love of stories to excel in business and make a life out of this. But I was at a very small organisation, so I knew I needed to go to a bigger organisation, and so that's when I moved into finance. I spent probably about half of my industry in finance institutions, and because of the breadth and depth of experience that I'd had at that boutique property development company, because they were transitioning into a state agency at the time, I'd had extensive project management experience, operations management experience, so I was able to secure a role as an operations manager at the Financial Ombudsman Service. The Financial Ombudsman Service is a massive regulatory service within the UK banking industry, and so being an operations manager there was a big deal. I was only 22 at the time. I was managing a team of between 12 and 15 people at any one time. It was also during kind of early wave digital transformation, so there was loads of projects going on to transfer from paper to e-file, and I was managing and coordinating a lot of those projects, and that's where I got introduced to change management. So through the Financial Ombudsman Service I got my first ever training in change management, and that's where it really clicked, that connection I'd made earlier at the boutique property development company, that this change management thing was all about how we take individuals and groups of people on a journey within the business context. And from then there's been no looking back. So since then I've had a variety of roles in different industries: change manager, change consultant, most recently head of change and global change consultant. I've also been really blessed to have worked on BSI's first AI regulatory product, 42001. So I know I'm one of very few change consultants in the world really who have had this experience of how do we regulate AI, how do we manage the risks and ensure that people and businesses are not exposing themselves to undue risk because of AI. So that's kind of a windsweep tour of my career. That being said, one of the things that I'm really, really keen to do in this space is to share with you some of the things that I've been coming across that are sparking interest and passion and revelation within me, and that are helping me to grow as a change consultant. I didn't say I now work as a global change consultant, so being pulled into different projects and different teams to help stand up the teams, to help train and coach their leaders, to provide support and mentorship. So if that's something that you're interested in, do get in touch. I've got my laptop here. I'm going to open it up because I haven't just kind of memorized all these things that I've come across. And let's have a look at some of the things that have really got me going this. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to share with you is a podcast and an Instagram page that I've come across that has just really filled me with joy and reflection. So I've been listening to this in the car with my sons whilst I've been doing housework, and it's the faith-filled therapist Jo Hargreaves. And what she does is she talks about the relationship between the Bible and neuroscience, and she explains how we can get a better understanding of ourselves and better kind of regulate our emotions and our thinking via having this understanding. So that has been really, really mind-changing for me. One of the posts that has got me thinking, and it's a topic that I'm reflecting on continuously at the moment because I think change management is evolving, is this post by John T. Plews, where should a change management sit in the organisation? And I think this is because there's been the hub and spoke model where there's a central hub and then there's connections to various areas of the business. Then you have kind of the completely dispersed model where you have different change management functions set up as and when depending on the needs of the organization. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is having this complete enterprise view of change management. And I think in order for change to work as best as possible within organizations, there needs to be that enterprise view of, you know, what's going on with our people's mental health and well-being, what's the state of play with our processes and frameworks, and just really building a holistic view. I also shout out the scorecard that I've created. It's a free scorecard that you can go answer a couple of questions and it will give you a rating whether you have low, medium or high change capability according to these 6 key areas. The only way to really grow in your understanding of how are we really managing change, not in pockets but across the piece, is to have this kind of view. So obviously it's subjective, it's based on your personal reflections, but I think it's really powerful to come together as a change team or as operational and directorate leads to have each done this, and it sparks really meaningful conversation around where is our leadership and culture? Are we completely aligned? If somebody scored themselves and their understanding is really high and then in another area it's really low, how do we align? Where is there the mismatch? And oftentimes we don't have data to fall back on to baseline that sentiment within the organization. So this is a great tool to get that baseline and that sentiment. So I'm going to talk to you about a YouTube or podcast that I listened to, the Transformation Talks podcast by Project One Limited. It had Emma Anderson and Giles Randall on there. Really, really good, easy listen. The thing that stood out to me is they used a term I'd never come across before, a watermelon project. Do you know what a watermelon project is? So it's when the project is marked as all green across the piece in reporting, but dig a little bit deeper, get a bit closer, and you understand it's red completely across the piece, or there's lots of red in the project, just like a watermelon, green on the outside, red on the inside. And how with change being as complex as it is, especially when it might be a whole scale change, for whether it's an operating model transition, whether it's a mass system implementation, it should be a bit questionable if it's green across the piece, because we know it's complex and we know that change in the mechanics of it is not as simple as some would like to set it out to be. So I really enjoyed listening to this conversation and their approach, and I recommend you go and give that a listen. Anyway, those are 3 things that I have come across this week that have helped to shape my thinking and inspired new ways of being within me. Do check those resources out and let me know what you think. Also, do let me know what you would want me to cover in this space. I'm going to just come on here and rambling for, I don't know, 10 minutes to share a bit behind the scenes. For those of you who access my tools, my resources, for those of you who work with me at the Growth Hut, you'll know this is not necessarily what I show on there. So do let me know what you want me to cover in this space. Otherwise, have an amazing weekend. Take care of yourself. Bye.